Throughout America, Robert Rainier was regarded as a renowned filmmaker whose works inspired people to laugh, cry, and think about life. He had established a reputation for decades as someone who firmly believed in the power of kindness, heartfelt storytelling, and family values. Rainier was respected not just for his profession, but also for the serene knowledge he brought to every setting, from award shows to academic lecture halls. Robert and his wife, Michele Rainier, led a tranquil life beyond the red carpet and cameras. Intelligent, elegant, and fiercely protective of her family, she was his pillar of support. Together, they had built a house that few people really understood, but that many admired from a distance. The silent storm that was building behind their walls was invisible to everyone. Their son, their battle. Their only son was Ethan Rainier. He carried the burden of unspoken but constantly felt demands since he was a little child. Being the kid of a well-known father meant that every action was observed, every setback was exaggerated, and every achievement was scrutinized. Ethan was creative, perceptive, and clever, but he was also very disturbed. From an early age, he battled emotional instability. He carried sentiments of inadequacy, rage, and anxiety into adulthood. Ethan never quite overcame the sense that he was living in someone else's shadow, even after years of therapy, private treatment, and family intervention. Robert made an effort to assist in the few methods he was aware of: patience, opportunity, and advice. Michele provided unwavering support and unconditional affection. However, love may not always be sufficient to mend deeply ingrained wounds. Silence, rather than shock, headlines, or speculations, is what remains as this story draws to a close. The kind of quiet that descends upon a house that was once full of voices, laughing, arguments, and affection. Every family has stories that the outside world is unaware of, particularly those that are burdened by public scrutiny. Successful careers, flawless smiles, and red carpet images frequently conceal personal hardships. This fictional story serves as a reminder that when wounds remain unaddressed for an extended period of time, fame cannot completely shield a family from suffering. This tale is fundamentally not about assigning blame. It concerns poor communication, unresolved emotional issues, and the subtle warning indicators that are much too frequently disregarded. It illustrates how love may become brittle when it is combined with pressure, expectations, and silence, and how distance can increase between people who live together. Tragic events don't usually happen overnight. Occasionally, it develops gradually and patiently, waiting for a moment when nobody's paying enough attention. This story serves as a reminder to parents that presence is more important than success. Even when they are surrounded by opportunities, children may nevertheless feel ignored, unheard, or misinterpreted. Additionally, it emphasizes to kids the value of speaking up before feelings become too much for them to handle on their own. No matter how flawless they may seem on the surface, no family is impervious to hardship. The authenticity of this fictional story is what makes it very devastating. We are aware of the feelings, the annoyance, the loneliness, the desire to be understood. Many people carry these emotions with them on a daily basis. Stories like this are important because of that realization. They represent the aspects of ourselves that we seldom discuss, not because they startle us. They challenge us to pose more challenging queries regarding family relationships, mental health, and the environments we establish for open dialogue. What's left after a loss are memories. Not the arguments, not the misunderstandings, but the quiet moments that once felt ordinary. Shared meals, late-night conversations. I apologize, but it feels too late now. This is where sadness resides, not just in what transpired, but also in what might have been different if someone had asked for assistance, reached out, or listened a little longer. If this narrative makes you uneasy, it's probably for a good reason. Let it promote empathy rather than condemnation. Let it serve as a reminder to see how those closest to you are doing, particularly if they appear to be fine. Allow it to motivate you to listen without interjecting, to love without conditions, and to treat emotional difficulties seriously before they turn into tragedies. Fiction allows us to explore tough truths safely, yet the emotions behind this story are real. Families everywhere struggle in invisible ways. Mental well-being is important. It's important to communicate. Being present is important. And sometimes, just making the decision to stay in touch can make all the difference. As we get to the end of this chapter, may this tale inspire contemplation rather than just amusement. A reminder that every family has hidden facets. Every life is complicated, and every understanding moment can be a lifesaver. Let's come away from this tale with broader awareness, gentler hearts, and a renewed dedication to kindness, because sometimes that's what makes all the difference. The cracks start to appear. The Rainier home had become tense in the last year of their lives. After a string of personal disasters, including failed creative endeavors, strained relationships, and unstable finances, Ethan had returned home. The frequency of arguments increased. Ethan felt misinterpreted. Robert thought his son needed discipline and accountability. Michele stood between them, attempting to maintain harmony while secretly being afraid of something she was unable to identify. Changes were noticed by friends. Robert canceled his social plans. Michele no longer went to charity functions. Unspoken worry weighed heavily on the house that had once reverberated with laughter. Nobody could have predicted the extent of the situation. The night everything came to an end, neighbors claimed to have heard shouting from the Rainier residence on a chilly December night, followed by stillness. When authorities came in the morning, they saw a spectacle that would stun the country. Inside their house, Robert Rainier and his wife Michele were discovered dead. No indications of forced entry were present. From the inside, the house was secured. Hours later, Ethan Rainier was found wandering along a highway miles from the house, confused and mentally unstable. He did not resist being taken into custody. Within hours, the tale became public. A shocked nation. Hollywood and beyond were rocked by the news. How could a guy who was well known for his tales of human connection, love, and optimism suffer such a terrible fate? How did such a tragic breakdown occur in a seemingly devoted family? There was constant media attention. Headlines conjectured. Commentators disagreed. However, beneath the commotion lay a very personal tragedy that could not be concealed by celebrity. Subsequently, investigators verified that Ethan's parents' deaths were caused by a severe psychological breakdown. His lengthy history of mental illness, untreated episodes, and increasing emotional suffering were highlighted by medical professionals. The case started to focus less on criminal activity and more on systemic failure, miscommunication, and silence. Emphasis on mental health, public discourse changed as more information became available. Advocates for mental health spoke up, calling for empathy over sensationalism. They emphasized the stigma that keeps families from getting early treatment and the risks of untreated emotional illness. The Rainiers' friends spoke tales of their generosity, compassion, and commitment to their kid. This was a tale of heartache rather than carelessness. Michele and Robert had made an effort. Their love had been intense. Nevertheless, they lost everything. The legacy that remains. The films of Robert Rainier were re-examined with fresh perspectives. Throughout his work, audiences observed themes of redemption, struggle, and forgiveness. Many others cited his university lectures, especially his assertion that storytelling is about understanding pain, not hiding from it. Michele Rainier was regarded as the unseen driving force behind his achievements. She was a selfless supporter of students, artists, and charities. Their passing served as a melancholy reminder that sorrow knows no bounds, and that even people who appear to have everything may be engaged in invisible struggles. The destiny of Ethan Rainier was sent to a long-term mental health hospital after it was determined that he was mentally unable to stand trial. His tale turned into a heartbreaking illustration of what occurs when identity is overtaken by illness. He would bear the consequences of his actions for the rest of his life, not as a villain, but rather as a damaged soul whose suffering became irreparable. A tale without winners. This imaginary tragedy is about awareness rather than blame. It serves as a reminder that families exist behind celebrity. There are challenges behind achievement, and there are tales hidden beneath quiet that need to be heard before it's too late. Some tales conclude with a warning rather than a resolution.